Good day everyone. I am Jenny Rose M. Alvarez from Bachelor of Science in Tourism Management, and today I will discuss about managing and caring for the self. What comes to your mind when you hear the managing and caring for the self? For me, it simply means how can you manage yourself and how can you take care of yourself. And kung ikaw yung tatanungin, how can you manage yourself and take care of yourself? At para sa akin naman, I manage myself and take care of myself. Hindi ko hinahayaan na ma-stress na ako ay ma-stress. I give my time to rest and I give myself time to relax. Knowing the self is not enough. Since who you are is partly made up of your choices, you must have the ability to choose, especially to be better you. In the school setting, your knowledge of yourself should at least enable you to become a better student. It is true that knowing yourself is not enough. Kasi it is important to know yourself and do what's good for you. Yung parang aalamin natin kung yung lahat-lahat sa atin pero hindi lang yun sapat, dapat ay gawin yung ating nalalaman. The next is, learning should not just mean studying for your quizzes and exams in school. Learning could also occur outside the confines of a book or classroom, like when you want to acquire new move in your favorite sport, or the skills or certain hobby, among others. Furthermore, the techniques here are not only techniques available in months or years from now. New ways on how you study better will be discovered or rediscovered. Ayun, what is important at this moment is that you learn how to learn these things. Learning is a process. At habang tayo ay natututo ay, di ba marami tayong nalalaman. At yun nga yung mahalaga na kung paano mo matututunan at ikaw ay may natututunan. We are Homo sapiens or the wise men. We think in a more complex level than our ancestors and most, if not all of the other beings. But being called wise, not only do we think but also we are capable to think about thinking, like how we think of things and why we think in a certain way about things. It is like your brain thinks about itself, then thinks about about itself. You have a higher chance of improving your learning process than those who do not reflect on your methods. And marami tayo daw ay matalino, pero hindi lang sa pag-iisip, kundi yung sa mga kakayahan at yung example, yung talents. This idea falls under the concept metacognition. Metacognition, commonly defined as thinking about thinking, it is the awareness of the school and limitations of your knowledge and skills. Due to this awareness, to adapt about existing knowledge and skills to approach learning tasks seeking for the optimum result of the learning experience. Ang metacognition, it is the awareness and understanding of one's own thought process. Metacognition is not limited to the thinking process of the individual. It also includes keeping one's emotion and motivation while learning in a check. Two aspects of metacognition. Self-appraisal is your personal reflection on your knowledge and capabilities. Yung parang i-assess natin yung ating sarili kung ano ba yung natututunan natin. The next is self-management. It is a mental process that employs using what you have been planning in adapting successfully or accomplish certain tasks. Self-management. Yung parang kung paano natin ma-manage yung ating sarili. At it is ability to prioritize goals, decide what must be done, and be accountable to complete necessary actions. Yun, yung kung how can we manage ourselves. Under metacognitive knowledge, there are several variables that may affect how you know or assess yourself as a thinker. First is the personal variable, which is your evaluation of your strengths and weaknesses. Yun, kailangan nating i-evaluate ng ating sarili kung ano ba yung ating strengths and weaknesses. Kailangan natin yan kasi kung yung strengths natin ay dapat maipagpatuloy at yung weaknesses ay kailangang gawing strengths. The next is the task variable, which is what you know or what you think about the nature of the task, as well as the what strategies the task requires. Lastly, strategy variables refers to what strategies or skills you already have in dealing with a certain task. Yun nga, yung strategies kung paano ba maaalis yung weaknesses at magagawang strengths. However, it must be noted that in order to make self-appreciate and self-management work, you must have an accurate self-assessment. Yun, ilagi nating, para maiwasan natin yung mga stress, kailangan nating i-assess yung ating sarili, kung okay pa ba tayo, kung ano ba yung dapat nating gawin para maiwasan yung stress, kung ano ba yung dapat gawin para yung ating sarili ay mag-improve. According to Waterloo Student Success, the following are the skills that can help you in exercising metacognition. Knowing your limits. Mentioned earlier, one can really make a significant advancement, can sing skills without having honest and accurate evaluation of what you have know and what you didn't know. Know your limits. Yung parang sa pag-iisip, dapat ay huwag masyadong mag-isip ng mag-isip. Modifying your approach. Modifying your approach is, it begins with a revenue appropriate to the best and or that you do not comprehend learning experience successfully. Recognizing, for example, that you are not understanding that are you ready and you should learn to modify your strategy in comprehending your understanding that you're ready to should not to modify a strategy in comprehending your material. Recognizing, for example, that you are not understanding that you are ready, you should learn to modify your strategy in comprehending your material. You might want to read a page 5 minutes intervals into trying to finish the material in one sitting. You may want to make summary or code for yourself instead of using keywords or highlighting sections of what you have reading. It is your ability to change your thinking, feeling, and doing is the key to changing your lot in life. Yon, kailangan nating baguhin yung ating pag-iisip. Dapat ay laging positive. Skimming, this is basically browsing over a material and keeping an eye on keywords, phrases, or sentences. It is also about knowing what to search for such key terms. For example, you might want to look at the introduction first of the abstract. The table of contents can also provide you with a quick guide to contents of the book. Introductory paragraphs, headings in the subheading, and conclusions can cause to provide you with an overview of the whole material. These techniques works best when you want to get an idea about the contents of reading material. The next is rehearsing. This is not just about repeatedly talking, writing, and to learn about, also trying to make a personal interpretation with some way of learning experience. One of the fun ways to do this is emergency cell interview about your task as you try to convey but you have learned from those resources. You also answered opinions or other personal things on the matter. Just be sure that the key concepts are well understood and they are still in line with the source material, even the multiple rehearsals. Self-test. Ito yung kailangan natin gawin. It is a name implies. This is trying to test your comprehension of your learning experience or the skills you have acquired during learning. Ito yung dapat ay self-test. Maunawaan natin yung skills. Example, kung gusto natin ng halimbawa ay matuto sa pagsasayaw. Yon, dapat ay ating i-try. Yon. As you may have noticed already, the goal of metacognition is for student to be self-regulated learning education should limit it better cut capable of this of the teacher to contain the school texted the four corners of the classroom and generation of the academic year of process. Other tips you can use in studying following: make an outline of the things you want to learn. Yan, gagawa daw ng outline kung ano yung gusto mong matutunan, katulad ng kung gusto mong matuto sa, halimbawa, sa instruments, kung gusto mong matutunan sa pagsayaw, kung ano yung gusto mong kumanta, lahat ng ating gustong matutunan ay kailangan nating i-outline. The next is break down the test in smaller and more manageable details. Dapat yung gusto nating matutunan, yung sa instruments, sa pagsayaw at sa pagkanta, kailangan nating i-manage. Kailangan ay ating kung ano yung dapat na dun sa tatlong gusto mong matutunan, kung alin muna yung gusto mong dapat gawin at yung mas gusto mo talaga para may matutunan ka. And the next is integrate information in your schedule and learning experience. Change reading material every hour and don't put similar topics together. Try studying English, then mathematics instead of English, then Filipino together. Also include physical activities in your planning. Yon, kung ano yung integrate information in your schedule and learning. Kung yung gusto mong matutunan ay iaakma doon sa time. The next is try to incubate your ideas. First, write your day to your draft without doing much editing. Let the ideas flow. Then leave your draft at least overnight or around 24 hours. Some even do not look at it for a week and do something else. After a given period, go back to your draft and prototype and might find a perspective about it. Sometimes during incubation, you suddenly have ideas coming to you. Write down the notebook first. Do not integrate them to draft yet. Incubate your ideas is keep something safe and warm so that I can grow. Parang yung ideas mo na, parang papalawakin mo yung iyong ideas. Receive, summarize, and take down notes, then read them to help you minimize cramming. The last minute, especially when you have a weakness in memorizing facts and data. Some people are motivated when the deadline is very close, tomorrow for instance, and they just review the day before some evaluation or exercise. If you are type of person, you may still motivate yourself and have that feeling or urgency last minute by using the aforementioned techniques. You cramming need to be desperate attempt to learn, but also as way to energize your brain as you make a final review of the things you have already been studying for a week. So, before aforementioned is yung mga previous techniques na yung ginagamit mo. Previous techniques na ginagamit mo. Engage what you have learned. Do something about it. On reading material, for example, highlight keywords and phrases. Write your opinions about the matter on a separate notebook or create a diagram or concept map. Dun sa tatlo na nilagay mo na gusto mong matutunan ay parang anuin mo yung kung meron ka nang natutunan at kung meron ka nang natutunan. The next is the stress. The American Psychological has this statement about stress. Stress is often described as a feeling or be overwhelmed, worried, or run down. Stress may affect people of all ages, genders, and circumstances and can lead to both physical or psychological health issues. Sa panahon ngayon, ang isa sa pinaka-problema ng mga kabataan, kahit sino mang tao ay ang stress. Dapat ang stress sa work, stress sa school, stress sa bahay, or yung may family problem. At ang stress ay hindi nakakaganda sa physical and psychological health issues. Stress is any uncomfortable emotional experience Some stress can be beneficial at all times, producing a boost that provides drives and energy to help other people get through situations like exams or work deadlines. However, an extreme amount of stress can have health consequences and adversely affect the immune, cardiovascular, and endocrine and central nervous system. Ang stress talaga ay malaki ang nagiging epekto sa isang tao. Since stress is inevitable too, we have to learn how to handle and cope up with it. More so, we have to be familiar with our approach to healthy lifestyle, which is self-care. Yun, dapat ay matutunan natin kung paano i-handle ang ating stress. Yun nga, para may handle ang ating stress, kailangan natin bigyan yung sarili natin ng time to relax. Kailangan yung, lalo na yung ating utak, dapat ay merong magkaroon ng peace of mind. Dapat ay ipagpahinga yung pag-iisip. Dapat ay, yun. The next is self-care. Stress and human response. The American Institute of Stress has distinguished different types of stress and the human response to it. It is essential to definition between pleasant or harmful variety of stress. Distress, which is often connotes disease, stress, which is often connotes euphoria. Eustress is stress in daily life that has positive connotations such as merit promotion, baby winning money, new friends, and graduation. On the other hand, this stress daily life that has negative connotations such as divorce, punishment, injury, negative feelings, financial problems, and work difficulties. Three components of general stress syndrome. The alarm stage represents a mobilization of the body defensive forces. The body is preparing for the fight-to-fight syndrome. This involves a number of hormones and chemicals excreted at high levels, as well as an increase in heart rate, blood pressure, perspiration, and respiration rate, among others. Alarm stage, initial symptoms the body experiences when under stress. Meron na siyang symptoms kapag may na-stress. The next is the stage of resistance. The body becomes adaptive to the challenge and even begins to resist it. The length of this stage of resistance dependent upon the body innate and restored adaptation, energy reserves, and upon the intensity of the stressor. Just as any machine wears out even if it has been properly maintained, the same things happen with living organisms. Sooner or later become the victim of the constant wear and tear process. Stage of resistance, increased capacity to respond to the stressor. The next is the acquired adaptation is lost if the individual is lost. Individual still greater exposure to the stressor. The organism then enters in the third and final stage, exhaustion stage. The body dies because it has used and resources of adaptation energy. Thankfully, few people ever experience this is last stage. Prolonged exhaustion stage, it is prolonged or chronic stage. Parang ito yung pinaka-worst na stage, exhaustion stage. Dahil parang yung antagal mawala nung stress. The next, stress diseases are maladies caused principally by errors in the body's general adaptation process. They will not develop when adaptation is facilitated by improved perception and interpretation. The biggest problems with drilling the general stress syndrome and causing diseases in absolute excess deficiency or disequilibrium in the amount adaptive hormone. When someone experiences a stressful event, that amygdala and area of the brain to contribute to emotional processing send a distress signal to the hypothalamus. This area of the brain functions like a command center communicating with the rest of the body through the nervous system to the person as the energy to fight or flee. For example, corticoids, adrenocorticopic hormone, and growth hormones are produced during stress. Unfortunately, if stress is induced chronically or defense response lowers its resistance since fewer antibodies produced and inflammatory response dwindles. This stress response begins in the brain. When someone confronts oncoming car or other danger of ice or your both send the information to the amygdala, an area of the brain that contribute to emotional processing. The amygdala interprets the images and sounds when it perceives danger. It instantly sends a distress signal to the hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus is a bit like command center. Parang siyang nag-uutos. This area of the brain communicates with the rest of the body through autonomic nervous system, which controls involuntary of the body functions like breaking blood pressure, heartbeat, and the deletion of contraction of key blood vessels and small airways in the lungs called bronchioles. This autonomic nervous system has two components of the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system functions like a gas pedal in a car. It triggers the fight or flight response, providing the body with a burst or energy so that it can respond to perceived dangers. The parasympathetic nervous system acts like a brake. It promotes the rest and they just respond the body down after the danger has passed. After the amygdala senses distress signal, the hypothalamus activates the sympathetic nervous system by sending signals through autonomic nerves to the adrenal glands. These glands respond by pumping the hormone epinephrine, also known as adrenaline, into the bloodstream. Epinephrine circulation through the body. It brings a number of psychological changes. The heart beats faster than normal, pushing blood to the muscles, heart, and other vital organs. Whilst rate and blood pressure go up, the person undergoing these changes also starts to breathe more rapidly. All small airways in the lungs often wide. This way, lungs can take in as much oxygen as possible with each breath. Extra oxygen is sent to the brain, increasing alertness, sight, hearing, and other senses become sharper. Meanwhile, triggers the release of blood sugar and the parts from temporary storage sites in the body. These nutrients flood into bloodstream, supplying energy to all parts of the body. All of these changes happen so quickly that people are not aware of them. In fact, the wiring is so efficient that the amygdala and hypothalamus start discuss even before the brain visual centers have bad chance to fully process what is happening. That is why people are able to jump out the part of an incoming car before when they think about what they are doing. That's the initial search for epinephrine subsides. The hypothalamus activates the second component of the stress response systems known as the pituitary adrenal. These networks consist of the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and the adrenal glands. The HPI axis of the hormones signals to give the sympathetic nervous system the gas pedal dressed down. If the brain continues to perceive as dangerous, the hypothalamus releases corticotropin in releasing hormones, which travels to the Pittsburgh gland, triggering the release of this hormone travels to the adrenal gland, prompting them to release cortisol. The body that stays reviewed up and in a high alert when threats passes for sympathetic nervous system. The brake then dampens the stress response health hardware. Persistent and epinephrine surges can damage blood vessels and arteries, increasing blood pressure or strokes. Elevate cortisol level of create psychological changes that help the planet. The body's energy stores the depleted during the stress response, but they inadvertently contribute to the build of fat tissue and weight gain. For example, cortisol increases appetite, so that people will want to eat more of the extra energy. It will also increase storage of unused nutrients as fat. Chronic low levels of stress keeps the HT axis activated, much like a motor that is scheduling too high for too long period after a while. This has an effect of the body that contributes to the health problems associated with chronic stress. Techniques to counter chronic stress. Several techniques to counter chronic stress presented in the same article. Relaxation response. Dr. Herbert Benson, Director Emeritus of the Benson Heart Institute from Mind-Body Medicine at the Massachusetts General Hospital, has devoted much of his character to learning how people can counter of the stress response by using a combination. Yon, para maiwasan daw yung chronic stress ay relaxation response. Isa talaga yan sa mga pinaka-effective para yung stress ay maiwasan, relaxation. Kasi pag nakaka-relax yung utak, nakaka-relax yung katawan, ay parang nawawala talaga yung stress. At pwede ka namang mag-relax kung ano yung talagang comfortable ka gawin. Kung gusto mo ay mag-isa, or yung sa, halimbawa ay yung sa mga pupunta sa mga places na yung parang nakaka-relax talaga, ganun. May sariwang hangin, tapos ay yung mga kokonti lang yung tao. Approaches that elicit daughter session response. This includes deep abdominal breathing, focus on soothing words such as peace or calm, visualization or tranquil sense, repetitive prayer, yoga, and tai chi. Yung pwede yung gawin yung yoga and tai chi. Pero, for me, mas effective ang prayer. Physical activities. People can use exercise for the build or the stress in several ways. Exercise such as taking a brisk walk shortly after feeling stressed not only depends breathing but also helps relieve muscle tension. Movement therapy such as yoga and tai chi combined with fluid movement, stiff with breathing and mental focus cause all of which can induce calm. Social support. Confidence, friends, and acquaintances, workers, relatives, spouses, and companions also provide a life-enhancing social net and increase longevity. It's not clear why, but why bluffering theory holds that people who enjoys close relationships with family and friends, receiving emotional support that indirectly helps to sustain them at times of chronic stress and crisis. Social support. Importante din yon sa mga friends. Pero mas important din ang sa family. Mahalaga na magkaroon tayo ng support na nagmumula sa ating family. At para din maiwasan yung stress ay kailangan natin ng communication with our family. Self-care therapy. Positive way to counter stress is self-care therapy. Nancy 2008 of Northern Illinois University has provided steps for self-care. Stop, calm my breath, and tell yourself, this hard I will get through this one step at a time. During an unexpected event or crisis, we are faced with dealing with a new reality and it takes time to incorporate what happened in our everyday lives. Identify steps you need to take first. Write them down, the focus on each step on a one at a time. If you look at everything you have to do, you will become overwhelmed. Remember, you can apply one thing at a time and focus exclusively on the one thing. Focus on one thing. Acknowledge to yourself what you are feeling. All feelings are normal. Facts, whatever you are feeling, once you recognize, and accept your feelings, you feel less out of control. You can find a comfortable place to express your feelings or extreme stress and grief. It's very hard to hold back your feelings, particularly yours, and this normal to this. So describe this as grieving or sadness or anger. You are not falling apart. You are living or feeling angry or sad. It's important during this time of intense feelings to own your feelings and hurt to yourself or that someone else. It is important to admit yourself that you are not okay. Kasi kapag nagpapanggap kang okay, mas malalo kang mahihirapan. Dapat ay admit natin na hindi natin kaya at kailangan natin kailangan nating may gawin para kailangan natin ng mag-isip para kung paano tayo magiging okay. Find someone who listen, accepting you don't need advice. Find someone who listen, accepting you don't need advice. You need to be sharing a story is how it begins. Accept whatever happened and integrate into a new reality. It may be that you just need to let go of your expectations, how things you should be, and thinking about your feelings and beliefs in the beginning of the process. Kailangan natin ng humanap ng kausap para ma-share yung ating nararamdaman. Pwedeng friends, pwedeng classmates, pwedeng family. But para sa akin ay mas mahalaga na sa family. Kasi kapag sa family ka mag-share ay mas maganda talaga na parang mas matutulungan ka talaga nila dahil mas kilala ka nila. At sabi daw ay, let go of your expectation how things you should be and thinking about your feelings and beliefs. Huwag tayong masyadong mag-expect dahil isa din yun sa nagiging dahilan ng stress ang expectations. Bakit? Dahil kapag ikaw ay nag-expect tapos hindi naman nangyari, 'di ba? Ikaw ay masasaktan tapos ay yung parang iisipin bakit hindi ganon. Dapat ay huwag mag-expect nang mag-expect. Maintain your normal routines as much as possible. Making everything decisions, deciding to get dressed, doing the dishes, going to work gives us you a sense of control and feels comforting as its familiar activity. Be realistic with what you can do and remember everything right now will take you longer to avoid making decisions based on what is stressed to feel right now. Allow blanket of time for a task. You will not be productive as you normally or accept how much you are able to do right now and recognize it will not be this way forever. During periods of extreme stress, prolonged stress, or after a crisis, your ability to concentrate and focus on tasks is diminished and will be take time for you to concentration. So give yourself extra time and be gentle and accepting of yourself. What can you do? Excuse. Yan, mahalaga din ito na accepting of yourself and what can you do. Accepting. Parang tanggapin natin yung sarili natin na kung ano talaga yung kaya natin, kung ano yung kaya natin, i-accept natin. Pero dapat dun sa pag-accept na yun ay merong gagawin natin siyang motivation para yung ating weaknesses at yung hindi natin kayang gawin ay magawa natin. They could care of yourself. Remember to get in rest and sleep at least 6 hours and not more than 9 hours. Yon, mahalaga din na ang tamang pagtulog para makapagpahinga yung ating mind and body. Listen to peaceful or slow music and do progressive relaxation before you go to sleep. Sleep helps kailangan daw na kung hindi ka matulog, pwede ka makinig ng music. Ganun ang ginagawa ko ganun ang ginagawa ko dahil kapag hindi makatulog, nakikinig ako ng worship song. And sleep helps our body heals and strengthens our immune system. Yon, nakakatulong talaga yung pagtulog sa ating body at sa ating body. Eat regularly and make healthy choices. Meals, particular breakfast, contributes to fatigue, mood swings, and poor concentration. Healthy food choices, not only on high simple sugars, maintain blood sugar level, energy, and concentration of the body. Know your limits and when you need to let go, due to some problems are beyond our control. If something cannot be changed, work at something it for what it is. Flexible or try to control your uncontrollable. Sometimes a mantra helps. It is what if is. I just need to accept it or for things within your control. Remember that change takes time. If you're holding on and need to let go, journal about it. Identify her create nurturing place in your home. Period. Our acting chair, a nice view, and a soothing music are important components to a nursing place. 20 minutes of spending in a rocking chair to this about physical pain. Anxiety is like giving yourself a hug to your sick and need your sounds nurture for beliefs and spirits. Practice relaxations or meditation. Period. Go to your new chair place and listen to guided relaxation tips in meditation or prayer. Allows your mind and body to slow down and let go of stress. Amanda's vacation in the midst of stress, relaxing you body shouting in your eyes and visualizing yourself in your favorite locations but quiet haven. Escape for a while through meditation, reading what you movie, or taking a short tip. Self-compassion therapy. Self-compassion is another way to counter stress. Kristen Neff has discussed self-contraction in her article, The Science of Compassion. Self-compassion until being warm and understanding forward ourselves even we suffer, fail, or feel inadequate rather than flagellating ourselves with self-criticism. Recognizing being imperfect and experiencing life difficulties is inevitable, so we can soothe and nurture ourselves wherein confronting our pain than getting angry when life falls short ideas. We clearly acknowledge our problems and start coming without judgment so we can do what is necessary to help ourselves. We cannot always get what we want to do. You be kind, always viewed, and we want to be feared when the reality is denied or that that suffering arises in the form of stress, frustration, and self-criticism. When this reality is accepted with benevolence, however, we generate positive emotions of kindness and care that help us cope. Self-compassion recognizes the life challenge and personal failures are part of the inhuman and experience we all share. In this way, it helps us to feel less desolate and isolated when we are in pain. Self-compassion process. Neff provides a self-compassion process when feeling stress or emotional pain, perhaps when you are caught in a traffic jam, arguing with a loved one, or feeling inadequate in some way. It is helpful to have a set of places, memories to help you remember to be more compassionate to be yourself in the moment. You can take a deep breath, put your hand over your heart, and gently hug yourself if you feel comfortable doing. Repeat following phrases. Is a moment of suffering. Suffering a part of life may give myself compassion I need. My place is captured as essence of their components of compassion. The first place helps to meet fully open to the thing of emotional pain. You can also just simply say, this is already hard right now and this hurts. The second place is the suffering units or living beings and reduces the tendency to feel ashamed in isolated thing when things go wrong in our lives. The final phrases reinforces the idea can what and compassion in difficult moments. Be experimental with the phrases. Other phrases that may feel more authentic in a given situation are may accept myself as I am. May I forgive myself, or may I learn to accept what I cannot change. Yan. May I accept myself as I am. Tanggapin natin yung sarili natin bilang tayo. At may I forgive myself. Patawarin natin yung sarili natin. Kasi minsan, yun din yung nagiging dahilan ng stress. Kasi kapag may nagagawa tayong kasalanan, mismong yung sarili natin hindi natin mapatawad. So, iniisip natin ang iniisip. Ba't ba natin nagawa to? Ba't ba natin, bakit ganun ako? Kaya dapat patawarin natin yung mismo yung sarili natin sa mga nagagawa natin. And may I learn to accept what I cannot change. Self-compassionate letter. An example of self-compassion exercise is the self-compassionate letter. This exercise has been used in therapeutic programs. Candidly describe a problem that tend make you feel bad about yourself, such as a physical flaw and a relationship problem or failure at work or school. Note what emotions come up: shame, anger, sadness, fear as you write. Next, think and imagine a friend who is unconditionally accepting and compassionate, someone who knows is all your strengths and business, understand your life history, your current circumstances, understand the limits of human nature. Yon, kailangan talaga natin ng isang kaibigan at yun talagang makakatulong sa atin para mawala yung ating stress. Ayan. And that's all for today, and I hope that all of you can manage yourself and take care of yourself in stress. And thank you and God bless.